Welcome to Pro Audio Perspectives. I'm Brendan Decora, and on the show, we'll dive into the heart and soul of the music industry. I enjoy candid conversations with professionals from across the pro audio field. In each episode, we explore the emotional connections and the artistry behind the music, going beyond the technical aspects to uncover what truly inspires great performances. Thanks for joining me. Enjoy. On today's show, we have Adam Clark. He has credits with Bailey Cole, Jon Car, Julie Elody, and many more. Enjoy. First and foremost, I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. I'd like to start if you can kind of go over your backstory, how you got to where you are, what led you to music and production and everything else.
Actually, it's funny. I actually started out as an artist. I got to a certain point where I was recording. I basically kind of grew up in studios from like 15 years old. But I started out as an artist and, did that whole thing till about, I want to say about 28 or so. And then from there, I ended up getting to the point where I was working with some Grammy-nominated producers and songwriters and getting to work with people kind of just a little bit up higher in the leagues and got a glimpse of that. And then I just couldn't make my artist career connect because I just had no real passion for like playing live and that kind of stuff and like the practices. Like people don't realize how much you have to do as an artist. Like you have to like just like having a band and playing out, like that is a full-time gig. Like so and it just wasn't something that I was like actually interested in. So I was actually recording like 4 new songs. And then from there ended up going to the point where I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to work on, I'm going to start working on these as well with the producer. And then eventually was like, you know what? I'm just going to start producing for other people. And then pretty much that kind of led me to getting to the point where I was, I actually ended up moving to Nashville. I was producing like by myself for, 2 years before that. Just recording myself into a mic pretty much for like about 2 years.
Right.
And, that's, I was just kind of like learning by doing pretty much.
Exactly.
On a computer that like, it would crash every 15 minutes on me as well. Like it was pathetic. It was bad. Right. Like I think if my track count went over like 20, it would just like boom, and it would just stop and just die. And I'd be like, no, and I'd lose. I learned real quick, like what it was like to basically lose an entire project and have to restart that. But I was so glad I threw that Mac out. I threw it in a dumpster. And I was so glad never to see. I'm so glad never to see it again. I never want to see it again. It's good in pictures, but
awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Then I moved to Nashville, and I kind of like got introduced into the studio scene there a little bit, just kind of briefly, because then what ended up happening is COVID happened. Right around the same time. And luckily I ended up going 3 months pretty much before COVID happened. I ended up going remote to start working with artists that were like, in different cities and just kind of seeing what what that was like, just to see because it was a low competition place. And I was just like, you know what?
Right.
Let me just start out there. And then it became a completely high competition place. And I was like one of the only people, like I knew how to do it. You know what I mean? I knew I had a process already written down. I knew exactly how to deliver a song through the internet.
Right. That's cool.
So I just kept doing that. And business blew up, and I tried to put out as much as I possibly could, because I was like, I don't know when I'm ever going to get an opportunity like this again. And I know, it's like, it's COVID too. So like, I feel terrible kind of like, doing this, but I'm literally like, I'm also helping people. So I'm trying to like, navigate through that. But then eventually we ended up moving to the New York City area where we live now. My family and I, and pretty much, we then basically flash forward like 2 years. I ended up working, at Lounge Studios, in New York City. And I've gotten to basically do some like really cool, like work for like, Papoose, let's see, Flor de la Toche. I think I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I feel terrible. They're an incredible band. They're an incredible band.
Nice.
And then I did a session with Suki Hana as well, and I've gotten to get like a little, just kind of gotten a few like the ropes of the the New York City vibe. Yeah. It's just been, and honestly, it's been a whirlwind. And I've recently now just been like working on like going back into like my own production work, and like kind of taking what I learned from the past year and bringing that into my production work again, which is like just skyrocket. I mean, the guys I'm working under are like that. They're Grammy winners. It's
nice.
It's
awesome.
It's a weird thing to work under them, because for me, I'm literally like, I've never really, I had like one studio thing in Nashville where like I went back and forth at a studio, but I've never had like an actual studio home. So it's been a very, it's been a very fun experience to be part of that, like the New York City culture.
No, that's awesome. So, that's awesome. Yeah. I'm wondering, I was looking at your website a little bit, and you talk about the process, and it intrigued me because I have my own process. I do mixing a lot, and I have like a questionnaire that I send out to people so I can kind of get the vibe of their music and get their references and that kind of thing. But you mentioned you have a questionnaire that's 20 questions, 21 questions, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what that process looks like when you're starting with a new artist, and if you could walk through that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So basically the 20 something questions they're kind of there. Okay. So they're there first off, just to make sure the artist is serious, because like it's an important thing to me, because I was an artist. So like I want to propel artists forward. I don't really want to be in a situation where, I'm not pushing an artist forward. You know what I mean? Like that's just it's a life goal. It's like that's kind of a decision. Like I work with people who I want to work with. And that's awesome. Sometimes it's awesome. Sometimes I'm like, man, this is the sword I'm dying on right now. Damn. But like most of the time it's awesome, because like I feel incredibly blessed to be around the people that I work with.
Sweet.
But I guess the other piece of it is it's also just to kind of like gauge if I'm a good fit for the artist, So like I do like the 20 something questions on the website, just because you never know what's coming. I've had people literally just fill it out and it's been complete nonsense before, and that's fine too. Like that's funny. But like, then when I get like good stuff too, I'm always very shocked. And I think it's a cool little funnel that we've, kind of built out throughout,
that's awesome.
Throughout the years.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah, basically the process of that usually goes is like, you know, somebody kind of comes in through that way. I listen to the music that they send. And if I'm digging it, like then I'm like, let's go, pretty much. They're like, heck yeah, let's go. I'm usually, I'm one of these, I think I'm one of these producers basically who, like, if I like what you do, I'm going to pretty much obsess over it. Like quietly obsess over it. Like I've disappeared for a year and then been like, yo, here you go. And people be like, where have you been? And I'm like, I've been obsessing over your work.
Awesome.
And trying to do it in the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
So basically it kind of goes into
sorry,
that.
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, no. You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, you know, one of the things I like to talk a lot about on the podcast is kind of how to inspire artists in the studio and, you know, doing production, especially a lot of remote production. I'm curious how you can kind of get that out of people in a sense.
Yeah. That's a big question. Because I also work with people like in person as well.
Of course. Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, you know, working in person is like, there's nothing like it. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just is what it is. And like, I'm just somebody who's like, I'm never going to try to compete with that. But I think there is still a lane for the remote stuff. And I think it's actually kind of a cool lane that's still built, because, you know, we're able to do, you know, I've had people actually hire me at Lounge literally to do stuff because I've done remote stuff so well before.
Right.
Like that's nice. Kind of a normal thing, but it's pretty much kind of like the process of kind of doing that is it's pretty much a 3-step process. It's one, we're going to go through like a really heavy pre-production process of just basically, I want to know what you listen to and I want to study it. Like I want to like basically stalk you sonically, you know, like that's kind of like, you know, that's kind of what it is. It's like, I want to get into why you listen to what you listen to. You know, like that's, and I know that's intrusive. You know what I mean? I know that's an intrusive place for a creator to go, but I also think that's a really important thing, especially with the remote possibility, because it's like, hey, listen, if I know why you're doing what you're doing, then like, I'm probably going to connect to that in some shape or form. So like,
exactly.
So like, I'm always kind of focused on that. Like, so the first part is connecting our whys and like making sure that's like actually, and like that's why like there is that filtering process. There is those 20 something questions. There is all that stuff. Right. It's literally just because the process of it is we're going to have to get to know each other. And I've had clients now who I've been working with for 5 years now, like, and they keep coming back and I keep wanting to work with them because, man, we make good music and like that's it. Yeah. It literally is that simple. Absolutely. It's just like we vibe
definitely
with that. We can lock in that quick and like that's there is no awkwardness. There is no like whatever. There is no getting to know each other anymore. It's just like we just go.
Exactly. And then when you're doing stuff in person with people, how does that vary? Like when you're setting up a studio for a recording session, for example, and obviously you've already worked through this process with the artist and written stuff even, and, you know, all ready to go. How do you kind of make sure they're comfortable in the studio to get the best performances?
So, that's a really good question. So first off, it's a lot of prep work, before we even get to the studio. You know, so even kind of backing up, like we'll do the whole writing process. We'll go through that whole thing. We'll do then like once the song is written, like to a place where we're like, this is incredible. We're ready to go. Yeah. Then we go into production, and then I'll get like a smidget of an idea, you know, like a sketch, like just like a
Right.
just like a doodle, right? Like just something that's like super small. And then I'll be like, sing to this. The song we just did, sing to this. And then I start constructing. And then like once I have something where I'm like, all right, this has a little bit of weight to it, and like we can actually like move it, then it's like, let's go to a studio. Let's have them listen to it. Like, and I work in studios. I know that like asking somebody in a studio to listen to something is like daunting. So like I don't do that as much anymore, but I used to, especially during the pandemic. I used to do that. And then from there, go into basically setting up like a whole vocal session beforehand, having it ready to go. Then I would literally just use like audio movers and Zoom.
Okay.
So Zoom screen control, audio movers. And as long as you know your key commands, I mean, the rest is just easy. You just have to like be okay with latency. Like, you know what I mean? Latency is a part of the digital age. So like capturing that like magical take, man, you just gotta kind of have to let go. Let go and let it just happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or get to the point where you just like, I have some artists where like, I need you in the room. And then we just book out studio time. And I fly to them or they fly to me. Because like, again, there is no beating that connection. Once you've established that with an artist, like there is just no beating that. And like, once you've established that in person, forget about it. Like that's just it. That's just it. Like, unless you're handing them over to Max Martin, and if that's the case, then it's like, well, you've done your job. You've done your job so well. You should feel so good about it.
Exactly.
So,
and how do you? I don't know if you work in different genres of music, but if so, how do you adapt your techniques for different genres?
I do work in different genres first off. So like I engineer a ton of different genres. Pretty much anything anybody wants to do in the studio, even if it's shouting into a mic, which I've had happen. Nothing shocks me at this point.
Right.
It was a weird day. But
awesome.
But the pretty much like with kind of like changing out, the whole genre. I think it's really has to go down to honestly taste, like I'm usually kind of trying to gauge where somebody's taste lie at, like even during the recording session, just to make sure like, I'm like, all right, like, am I actually going to be able to link up with this? You know what I mean? Or can I get close to it? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know the underbelly of hip hop the way that most New Yorkers do. And I'm not trying to pretend I ever do. But I've studied a little bit, you know what I mean? Like I know J. Cole, like I know the big three, like, so it's like, and I also know NWA and Biggie and whatever. Like I know classics, like it's like, so like it's one of those things where it's just like, all right, how do I connect? And it's like hip hop is definitely one that's always super hard to connect to, especially if you didn't grow up in that. That's definitely, and that's why I kind of use that example, because like it's something where it's just like, well, you kind of find ways to relate to the genre, like, my production style, like I primarily sit in the pop realm. I probably will for the rest of my days, unless I get really bored for some reason. I don't know. Like I'll probably sit there because that's what I started listening to that got me into this whole thing. Right. But that's, but with hip hop as well, it's just like, it's always a learning thing. You know what I mean? It's always like when you're approaching a different genre, it's like, it's kind of like putting your like your biases completely down, and then just being like, all right, here we go. Like here goes nothing. And then being willing to fail Like that is, I think, the biggest thing is like being willing to fail in front of an artist is a thing that I think most engineers, especially, because we have a lot of pride in what we do, which is fine. This is fine. It's fine to have pride in what you do. But at the same time, it's like you also like, you got to be willing to also be like, hey, I'm going to learn, like I'm going to learn one way or the other. Either today I'm going to earn or I'm going to learn, like pretty much. It's like one or the other. Like I'm either going to be your favorite person in the room or I'm going to be the person that you're like, he's learning a lot today. And I think that's like, that's an okay balance to have, you know what I mean? As long as you can like balance, actually still deliver somewhere in the middle of that, you know what I mean? Then like, I think it's an okay thing to, have, is that kind of energy going into any genre. Like I did a session that was, had to be like 3:00 in the morning. They came in, and it was literally it was Bangladesh music. I don't speak.
Dang.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that at all. The track was there, luckily, and so like I just recorded. But I'm still able to give input.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. As a listener, like I have ears. And I've trained these ears over a very long time. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's like that is still I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, that is still valuable, even though I can't speak of like, I just recorded a Latin band. I have no idea how to speak any Spanish at all. I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah. Oh,
like
good.
I'm trying, but like I still can relate to it because that's music. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So it's one of those things where it's like I think you can do more than one genre. It's just you have a specialty, obviously. Like there's a specialty genre, but then there's like we're all 3-dimensional people. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
The nerdiest dude in the room probably rocks the grungiest hip hop in the place. Like honestly, it's just true. It's just true. So
right, exactly. And that actually, I mean, sort of not really, but kind of ties into my next question is, what are some unexpected sources of inspiration, be it literature, art, film? Is there anything else you draw from or encourage your artists to check out when you're working with them?
Personally, Marvel.
Okay. Nice.
Man, I fell into that Marvel trap during COVID, and I don't think I've come back from it. Like I'm still like, multiple dimensions, and I love that. That's just a cool way of thinking, I guess. I don't know.
Nice.
Anyways, but I guess besides that, honestly, stoicism. I'm always kind of going. I'm always going back to that. Like whenever things get hectic, and I'm like, oh my god, I need some kind of like something because. It's cool to have like an imagination that like runs wild and goes crazy. Right. But like every once in a while, you got to be like, where the hell am I? You know what I mean? And like, just to be completely candid.
Exactly.
But there are times you just have to be like, where the hell am I? And that's why I always go back to Stoic. And I do actually show that to a lot of the artists that I work with. That and a book called The Go-Giver.
Okay. I think I've heard of that one.
It's short read. I think everybody should read it. It's incredible. It's literally just about just like basically just how to succeed without like having negative thought process around success, because all of us do, because we see, the billionaires of the world and all that other stuff. And we're like, oh, these guys, that's what it takes to be a billionaire. Well, and it's like, no, they just kind of they're just really not that nice, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm not a billionaire, but like,
Right.
I don't have aspirations to ever become one. If that's the case.
Right.
Which I don't think many of us audio professionals do. Right.
Exactly.
But it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know. I guess I'll just leave it there.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I guess what I'm saying is when it comes down to it, like, success though is one of those things where it's like, it's not a negative thing. I guess.
Yeah.
That's where
definitely.
I'm going with it. I don't know.
Anyways. Yeah, for sure. And then coming back to kind of the artist's vision, like, how do you balance the artist's vision with, while maintaining your own creativity and your own input to it, and how does that mesh?
Honestly, so there's kind of two train of thoughts on that. One is, what is my job? Like, right. If I'm hired as an engineer, listen, I'm going to give you, like, we're probably not going as deep, as I'm going to go if, like, I was with you from the start of the project. My level of involvement is going to depend on that. You know what I mean? And that's just one of those things that I think is kind of a healthy a barricade or boundary, if you say. But it's definitely something that I think is kind of shaped the overall involvement of, what I do is, like, it's kind of like, what's my job? What's my mission here? Right. I mean, if my mission is to, deliver you the best track that you ever heard, then, like, let's go diving. You know what I mean? Let's go to the bottom of the ocean. Let's see what the hell we find. Like, and let's go, let's come back out like with that in mind. And, let's get past the finish line. Like, it's really, that's what it's really about. It's like, how do we react to, like, the final result? Like, I'm always focused on that. It's almost to a fault in some ways. But, like, that's what I'm usually focused on is like, what is it going to sound like when I have to listen to it again for the first time after 3 years? You know what I mean? Yeah. What am I going to listen to? Am I going to listen to something where I'm like, damn, that was sonically, like, right in the pocket, or damn, that's sonically right in the pocket. You know what I mean? Or is it, or like, cause sometimes we play 3 years in advance, like as producers, as, engineers, as artists, we play towards the future. We create the future. Like, I think that's a piece that, like, I think that's what a lot of creatives don't remember is, like, that's what we're not just here to reflect upon, like, the shitty things that are going on in the world. You know what I mean? Like, we're not just here to reflect upon that. We're also here to, like, how do we create a better future? How do we, like, join up with, like, how do we join up with Gen Z kids? How do we relate to them? How do we get, you know what I mean? These are, like, questions where I'm literally like, and, like, I think there is a shift I feel like that is coming within the industry, and within the, underbelly of kind of how the money moves. But I think that's one of the things is, like, it's really just like, cause I'm still an artist at heart. And, like, for me, it's like, how do I use, it's a superpower, so it's like being an artist is a superpower. So it's how do you create, if you've learned that you can create your own thing out of, like, virtually nothing, like, then you can kind of create anything. Like, you just kind of realize that, and like, and then it's like you can create a positive, you know what I mean? And I'm just saying, like, that's just like you're one brick in a wall, you know what I mean? Whatever.
Right.
But, like, But like, if you're the one brick that's like purple when the rest of the world is whatever, it's like, well, you stuck out at the right time, you know.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what it comes down to. It's literally, that's what it's, right time, right place. But you can manifest that just by creating it through art. Like I know that's like super woohoo, and we're totally off base of what we were saying, but
no, that's right in line in my book.
Yeah, it's just something that I think is it's important. It's like, it's important to like the whole thing. It's, you know, it's about like, you know, just being able to realize that your words have power, and words have meaning, and you know, if you use them the right way, you can make something great happen. Right. For the most part, and like, you know, that like trial and error is also a big part. Like, there's a lot more that approaches that as well, because it's not, you know, rainbows and butterflies. It's usually sleeping on a studio couch for the third night in a row, missing your family, and having and meeting a major label artist smelling like a dirty socket. You know what I mean? Like, like that's the reality of what it really looks like. Yeah. But if you're willing to do that, then like, who the hell is going to stop you? Like, no one's going to stop you.
Absolutely. And it's interesting you talk about, you know, writing for the future, when, you know, one of my next questions is, you know, what are some recent trends that inspire you? But it's like, how do you even think about recent trends and then also write towards the future? It's, you know. Yeah,
that's actually something I'm dealing with a lot right now, because I was actually just on a podcast, and they were like, so what do you guys think of the top 10? And I was like, I have no idea what's in the top 10. I have no idea. I'm not even I'm not even playing towards it. I'm finishing off what my artists want, where my artists want to go, and I'm trusting that I'm not too far off of balance, and like I'm kind of trusting them a little bit with it too, because like I'm just trusting what they bring me at this point. Like, and I feel like that's what you kind of have to do to a certain point. Like, the artists are going to know where they want to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the idea of, I feel like the idea of a top 10 is like not that appealing unless you listen to the radio a lot.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
And also, based on what you were just talking about, by the time it's in the top 10, it's already old. You know, it's already too late.
Maybe.
You know,
Dude,
right for the future. You know,
well, that's one of those things. That's also a shot in the dark, though. Like you also have to know that, like, you're like, things have to like fall in line the right way, right time, right place. Like, you have to.
Right.
You also have to rely on the fact that like the mailman showed up the right time with your check. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes that's just what it is. And like, but like, I feel like that's part of the artist journey too. It's like, you trust in a little bit of your own craziness, maybe, you know, like that's, I don't know. I'm just I'm reading The Artist Way right now. So like, it's
nice.
Something
I've been
where
working my way through that too.
Yeah. I'm on chapter 8. So like, I'm still like,
okay.
It's first read. It's definitely been inspiring a lot lately.
Nice. Awesome. Is there a common misconception about production that you want to clarify, that you encounter a lot?
Honestly, the biggest one is that it's easy.
Right.
Like, it's so not easy. And I used to think it was easy too. Like, as an artist, like so like as an artist, I am literally like, coming from an artist point of view, if I could talk to like the 50-year-old me who was complaining that I didn't sound like Justin Bieber off the gate, like, well, listen, like, dude, you got to do what he did if you want to get to where he went, you know what I mean? And like, that's, I understand that's a little easier to said than done, but the dude also did like how many covers on YouTube before he saw a studio?
Right.
Just saying, like, and that's kind of just how I kind of approach it, is just, you know, if listen, I've been around, like, I've been able to be around some incredible mentors, and one of my incredible mentors is his name is Blue. He works over at Lounge. So shout out to Blue. But he literally told me, I think it was like my second week. It had to be something like that. And he literally said, if you want what I have, you have to do what I've done. And I just think like that is the ultimate advice for anybody who's like ever gone into anything with audio. Yeah. Like you have to, like, you want to know the
not
mud?
Even audio. That's just for any field, you know.
Seriously.
Right.
And he's just talking to me about that, and it's like, yeah, man, like it's heavy. Like it's one of those things where you realize like, you know, there's sacrifice involved with that. There's a lot involved with that. That's like, it's not a one-way path. And like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I think artists come into the studio expecting more because they spend more, not realizing that it's also like just the price of entry.
Right.
Like, and I don't mean that to be like facetious, because I've paid the price of entry so many times within my career, where now I'm at a place where I'm like, there's my Cash App. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know what else to say. It's just like, what else is there to say? It's like, dude, this is like, the time that I spend is valuable. And I didn't put that out into the, like, I did. Yeah, I kind of did. You're right. I put it out into the universe, but at the same time, I didn't expect anybody to actually say it was. You know what I mean? Right. And like, so I'm in the same boat as them, but I'm literally just being like, so if you do that, you'll probably be all right. Because like, I didn't expect that to work out either. But yeah, I also understand it took me, I've also been in studios for 20 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I also understand somebody's hesitancy to be like, oh, you mean I got to go to the studio for 20 years? Yeah. Right. Yeah, probably more if you get really successful. You know what I mean? And like, and I think that's the thing that drives away a lot of like, you know, unserious artists is you're like, no, you're probably going to have to come back to this blank screen, this like the blank canvas more times than you ever want to for the rest of your life if you have success. And I think that's what scares the most people away from it, honestly. It's just like, it's just, I mean, it's just, honestly, that's what
it could be daunting,
I learned. You know? Yeah, you have to do a lot. You have to do a lot of, you have to go through a lot of stuff to find the success you want in music. And that's just like, it's a prerequisite. And like, I wish I knew that, I think a little earlier going in. Like, I think if I knew that going in, even as an artist, I probably would have thought twice, and I probably wouldn't have wasted so much time being an artist when I really just wanted to be a producer. I didn't know that though, but like I got to know that. Yeah,
you live and learn. You know?
Yeah. And I love every single thing that I've ever done, like all the way to like, now. Like this is awesome too. Like I'm not saying like, you know, it's it's one way or the other, but it's definitely,
of course,
it's definitely one of those things where, you know, if you take, you know, if you expect a long-term result from you doing short-term work, I think that's like the real big takeaway for any artist is literally just like, if you expect, if you put in short-term effort, you're going to get short-term results. Like if you put in long-term effort, you will find long-term results. You will, you just will. Like, because that's most awesome. People quit. Awesome. Most people quit when they like hit their first like wall. They're like, oh shit, this is hard. Exactly. And they run back to what's comfortable instead of like getting in the mud, learning their frequencies, doing, I was that producer. So I'm speaking to past me. Literally, that's what you do. You have to get in the mud. Do you know what 200 hertz sounds like on 3 different headphones? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and like that's the level of like excellence that you want to achieve. Like, you know, in your what,
sure.
I don't know that on 3 different headphones. Like I'm not every day, at least. Like some days,
well, you
some
only
days
need to learn one really good, and, you know.
Oh,
awesome. So is there any, I mean, you sort of talked about it a little bit already in the beginning, but is there any current or recent projects that you can talk about that you want to?
Man, I wish I could talk about it. I have, I'll give you this. I have,
or something that's been released recently. Obviously you could talk about those.
Yeah. Things. Oh yeah. I got to do engineering thing for, floor. See, this is terrible. They're like a Grammy, Latin Grammy winning band, and I can't say their name.
Oh, geez.
Damn, that's terrible.
Well, someone else then. Don't butcher it.
Yeah.
No, it's all good. All good.
Flor de la Tora. I think that's what it is, though.
Okay. Yeah.
Or Tolce. Flor de la Tolce. That's what it is. 100%.
Okay.
And yeah, they're incredible. I also have an artist named Jon Car that he is working on a single actually that we just got strings done from a cellist named Dave Edgar. He did the Viva La Vida strings, like the cello for Viva La Vida. Like he actually low key is like one of the composers off of that. But
nice.
Not credited. I won't say that live. Anyways, he wouldn't say that. I'll say that. I'll say that for him. I'll say that for him. All right. We need to correct some wrongs.
Right.
Anyways, I'm sure that's not even at the top of his list. He doesn't even care about that at all. But he recorded cello in this like beautiful cathedral in the Netherlands.
Nice.
For this independent artist named Jon Car. He's from Corpus Christi, Texas. He's got an offer going on, and that's all I'm gonna say, because I'm not that nice. I'm not that stupid.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, good.
But nice. Then we also have another artist named Bailey Cole that I've been working with for like, when I say 4 years now. And she's just like an artist that I found, like another artist that I found on the internet, basically, like during the COVID times. And I just got like, I feel like I got like my pick of the litter of the best independent artist in this country. Awesome. Just because I was ready for it, you know what I mean? So like I was ready for the artists who were ready to go all out, who were like, I still have something to say, you know what I mean? So like I feel like I got the pick of the litter with a lot of those guys. So Bailey Cole has definitely been one that I've been like just kind of fostering over some time. But honestly, I probably let go after like the second single, and she's just kind of led the way pretty much from that point on. Honestly, like she's awesome. She's a star in her own right, straight up.
Nice,
I believe that.
Nice.
Same with John as well. So those are two, and then also I have another one, Kai Gray, who's also doing a video game with an album, but I won't get into the details because I can't really.
Nice. But. Awesome. So I like to wrap up each podcast with the same few questions. The first one is, who is your most influential teacher, or just influence in general?
Influential teacher. Man, it's weird because you think like I would like go like music or something like that, but it's honestly it's the first person I thought about, and this is a weird person to think about. It's a chef that I used to work with.
Okay.
And he was a chef for Cornell. And he was just, he saw me at one of my lowest times, and he kind of saw through the BS, like the bullshit, the wall, you know, the nice little wall that we all put up. And he kind of saw through it and was just you know what? He goes, but every single time he would talk to me, he was like, moving forward, we're going to do this. And he just showed so much patience that and he's been something that I've thought about a lot, kind of moving forward, is like moving forward like there. It's just like, he'd always bring up that, he'd always say that. So I think that's honestly like probably one of my like favorite influential like leaders that I've met. Is like this like that's chef awesome. in a Cornell campus diner or like dining hall, and like he commanded attention without really having to do much, and just because he was just patient with people. And I think that patience is just it's a valuable thing in an industry that like kind of just wants everything when they say the hurry up and wait industry. Is
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. The next question is, it's kind of more for engineers, but for producers as well, is what is your favorite reference track? If you're going to a new studio, you have to learn the room, but you know, for production stuff, like what do you put on to be inspired? Let's say.
Oh man, honestly, it's the same track. It's Blue. It's called Blue World by Mac Miller, and it's just like, I just think it's like it's one of the most beautifully mixed tracks out there, because it's literally just like, it's just sonically like, it's just like it's so see through. Where he was like where he was going sonically, I just like. Man, I wish he would have. I wish he could have seen it. I'll just leave it.
Yeah, awesome.
That is definitely one of my favorite ones to put. It just immediately gets me like comfortable in an environment.
Right.
So
nice. Awesome. Last question: what would be one tidbit for an upcoming producer?
Don't fall into the trap of genre. Because genre is just going to limit your creativity, and it's going to limit your ear. And your ear is going to be probably, honestly, the ear is always the most important thing to fall back on. So when it comes down to it, like, listen to everything. Just listen to and I mean, listen to everything, like take your headphones off and just like sit at a park and just look like the weirdo who's meditating in a park. Like do those things, like break out of your own box, do those kind of things. Like don't be stuck in a trap of like, oh, I am a singer songwriter, so I got to do this, because that's what I thought for the longest time. And man, I was so far away from like what I actually wanted to do in life, which is, you know, work with audio, work with sound, and like get to balance sonics. Like I could have never imagined that was a thing for me, you know, but that is a thing, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, you know, don't fall into the trap of genre.
Nice. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. No, awesome. I appreciate you having me here, man. That's it's been a blast. So thank you.
Definitely. My pleasure. Thanks for joining in today on Pro Audio Perspectives. Make sure to hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week.